Hey, what's up? This is John Cena. Press the free like button. If you think that the real downfall of WCW actually began the moment they made their biggest babyface, Rey Mysterio, take his mask off, I think we all agree that Rey Mysterio has a weird looking face without his mask. Keep on your mask, Rey.
Now, I'm seeing that there is a documentary on what killed WCW. Now, I lived through this era. Now, I was rooting for WCW to beat out the World Wrestling Federation because, man, I was a hardcore fan of WCW. They were giving great competition to the World Wrestling Federation. But listen, they became very Tony Khan-light. Like, they became childish in terms of there was a point in time where Cactus Jack worked for WCW, but they saw him as a mid-card guy. So they eventually let him go. So he goes to the World Wrestling Federation and he becomes repackaged and he becomes a star. Then he wins the world title, but WCW Nitro, they told the world that Mankind was going to win a world title. Bruh, that was petty. To me, that was the OG figure poke of doom because that made it seem like, okay, you are jealous. You are jealous because Vince McMahon knows how to book your mid-card talent. That sounds familiar, don't it? That sounds very familiar. That sounds like all elite fake pro wrestling. The same mistakes that Con Man is currently doing. Mick Foley was a mid-carder. Like, this is a weird trend, right? Weird trend. Triple H was a mid-carder in WCW. Brian Pillman, Stone Cold, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. All mid-card guys. Then they came to the World Wrestling Federation and Vince McMahon knew how to book those guys. So there is tons of elements on why WCW died. Because to me, I feel like, yeah, they have a good eye for talent, but they don't know how to nurture and book those talents. So the biggest mistake that Eric Bischoff did was hire wrestlers to be his booker, even though they were still active performers on the roster. Now, I like Kevin Nash, but that was a huge mistake. Making Kevin Nash the booker based on, he was not in the business very long. To my knowledge, he made his debut after 30 years old. So he was like, 8-9 years as a wrestler. You don't have that much of experience to book shows, That was crazy. That was a low-key nail in the coffin. That's like making Bill Goldberg your booker. I'm like, nah, man, like, you don't have that many years of experience for me to hire you as my booker for my show. Like, maybe like a Ric Flair or a Dusty Rhodes, guys like that, or a Larry Zbyszko. Make those guys the booker. Veterans. Not guys that been like, maybe 10, 8 years. Nah, man, that is not long enough. And the fact that I don't think Nash was a fan of fake pro wrestling as a kid. So he had no business booking shows. To me, you gotta hire people to book shows that are lifelong fans of fake pro wrestling. And that was not Kevin Nash. Now, I don't mind Kevin Nash giving out input or Scott Hall giving input to a character, right? For example, Scott Hall gave Sting the idea to make him the Crow. Okay, that was nice shit. That was a nice suggestion. But overall, hot shot booking. See, a lot of people don't bring that up. A lot of hot shot booking that I saw on Nitro. Like, why would you book Hogan versus Bill Goldberg for free on Nitro? So you got your highest merch seller, right? Goldberg. Man, you kids don't know how popular Bill Goldberg was. Do not pay attention to these smart marks, these Bret Hart nuts huggers who don't like Bill Goldberg. Those guys are fucking idiots. See, they more so don't like the Bill Goldberg from right now in terms of they don't like the comeback Bill Goldberg. That Goldberg who beat Kevin Owens. Yeah, they don't like that Bill Goldberg. But the young Bill Goldberg bitch, listen, fun fact, by the way, Goldberg had no haters, right? He had zero haters, man. People loved Bill motherfucking Goldberg. Listen, he was the first t-shirt I ever bought as a kid. That's how much I loved Bill Goldberg as a kid. But listen, these Goldberg haters, bruh, where were you at when he was over back in the late 90s? Where were you at? You was pitch silent. Bruh, he was the highest merch seller in the business, next to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay? That was our dream match as kids. We wanted to see Stone Cold versus Bill Goldberg. That was our dream match. Everybody's dream match. Why? Because they look alike. So that makes sense. And Goldberg was the face of WCW. It was not Sting. Facts. It was not Sting. It was not Booker T. It was Goldberg. Now, I hate these Goldberg haters. It's like, bro, you might be too young, man. Like, you are not from my era in terms of, I was a kid when Goldberg was mega over. Bro, I saw his first match. I saw his first match against Hugh Morris. Bro, I was shocked when Goldberg beat Hugh Morris clean because I thought he was a fucking jobber. So, bro, that was great booking. That was great booking. That might have been the greatest debut of all time for a wrestler. Because, bro, the whole building thought Goldberg was a goddamn jobber. Facts. Right? He was in all black trunks and he was bald. He looked fucking generic. But the fact that he won and he beat him clean, I'm like, holy shit, who the fuck is this guy? That point on, Goldberg was over. He was a made man from that audience. Like, he was the company's top merchandise seller. So it makes sense to push Bill Goldberg to the motherfucking moon. Now, was that bad booking that Kevin Nash beat Bill Goldberg? Now, here's how I see it. It did make sense in terms of Kevin Nash. He's a big ass dude. If you were gonna have somebody beat Goldberg, it better be somebody who's bigger than Bill Goldberg. Either him or Sid Vicious. But in terms of the match layout, yeah, that was bad. The match layout was bad. It made no sense to taser Bill Goldberg. That was whack. That was weird. But in terms of, bro, Kevin Nash, he was very, very credible. Bro, he's 7 feet tall. So, yeah, it makes sense for Goldberg to get beaten by a monster who was over 7 feet tall. So, yeah, that makes sense. But overall, it was a hot shot booking. Now, when it came to Chris Jericho, fucking Eddie G, Chris Benoit, it felt like Eric Bischoff, he put those guys in a category where, yeah, you can't be main eventers, but I don't care if you have great matches in that mid-card. So they couldn't break through that glass ceiling. That was bad because he put them inside a box where they couldn't break out. It was like Jericho always said, being a cruiserweight was a death note in WCW because if you were labeled as a cruiserweight, you were not going to be a main eventer. That's sad, but that's facts. So from that aspect, yeah, not trying to book guys like Eddie G, Jericho Strong, yeah, that hurt the company. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to make Jericho a main eventer, yeah, that was bad. So they made tons of mistakes, but to me, they always made those mistakes. For example, Mark Merrill. To me, I felt like Mark Merrill was great in the World Wrestling Federation until Sable kind of unburied him. That's it, right? Sable buried Mark Merrill, but overall, I think Mark Merrill was pretty goddamn solid. See, that is a huge point. It's like Vince McMahon, he always booked WCW guys better because he did that to make a point, right? Same as Mark Callis. He made Mark Callis a fucking star. That is a great point. He always did that. Where it seemed like, bruh, how can you not see Razor Ramon in the Diamond Stud? How can you not see that? See, that's why Vince McMahon was doing that. He wanted WCW to look stupid. He wanted Ted Turner to look stupid. And years later, we are still doing that. Remember Jade Cargill? Look at her. Brian Pillman Jr., fucking Ethan Page, Cody Rhodes. We always do that. We always book our competition's ex-wrestlers strong. We always do that. That's facts. That's why I want Wardlow to come to the World Wrestling Federation. So Shawn Michaels and Triple H can book him strong to throw it in Tony Khan Man's face. That's why. That is a strong point. We always do this. Okay. They always treat big men like shit in all elite wrestling. They always do that. Right? They always, for example, where is Ricky Starks? Guys like him. If Ricky Starks were to leave, Triple H will make him a star just to spite Tony Khan, man. People don't realize that. Wake the fuck up. Right? Look at Dragon Lee. Listen, bitch. Dragon Lee, he was in AEW. He had multiple matches. Look it up. So yes, he qualifies as an ex-AEW talent. Shut the fuck up. But in terms of what were the other damning factors for the death of WCW? Man, towards the end back in 2001, man, they had a bad eye for talent. It's like, yeah, they were trying to push all of these swole, jacked up dudes who looked like they had upside, but they had no charisma. They had no personality. That was the problem. Fucking Mark Jindrak. Sean O'Haire. Listen, I liked Sean O'Haire, but back then he had no charisma. He had no personality. Sean O'Haire had a great look, but back then he was bland. So back then they were pushing all these swole, tall, big, jacked up dudes, but they had no personality. They could not connect with the goddamn audience. So that's why they had to pivot back to DDP, Goldberg, Sting, Flair, Steiner, etc. Fucking Shane Douglas, etc. Because they were trying to push these new blood talent, but they had no talent. They had no charisma, no personality. They were fucking bland. So you can't push those guys as top guys if you are trying to compete against the World Wrestling Federation. It's not going to happen. So overall, them booking the cruiserweights like shit, yeah, that was a huge death note. Because those guys had talent. They should have been main eventers. When it came to Eddie G, he should have been a main eventer. In WCW, I mean, he had a great gimmick. I don't know why Eric Bischoff did not see it. Right? It just made no sense. And it felt like Eric Bischoff was pushing the wrong guys towards the end of his tenure. That also was a huge death note for WCW. Now, what do I mean about hot shot booking? Okay, there is tons of factors on what hot shot booking means. That shit can also kill your brand. Look at All Elite Wrestling. Okay, when you go over an overrun, to me, that qualifies as hot shot booking. When you do overruns, because you are trying to tell the audience, oh, this match is such a big deal. You gotta watch it. Oh man, they are going 10 minutes overtime. You gotta watch it. Yeah, but bruh, nobody cares about Pac, Neville. Nobody cares about Neville and Cesaro. They don't deserve fucking overtime. They don't deserve an overrun. That's called hot shot booking. That makes no sense. The more you do it, the more your audience becomes numb to it. So you gotta avoid it. Now, when it came to Bill Goldberg, I think Goldberg was booked strong. But their biggest mistake was turning Goldberg heel. Goldberg don't know how to be a heel, okay? Yes, in real life, Goldberg acts like a heel. But on TV, no, man. On TV, Goldberg is not a heel. Goldberg wants to be liked. Goldberg is a good guy on TV. But the fact that Vince Russo turned him heel, yeah, that was bad. That was awful. So that's called bad booking. But his streak, man, his streak saved WCW. And that is a fact. That was a great streak. And listen, you gotta give Goldberg credit. He changed the business. Without Goldberg, there is no Gunther. Without Goldberg, there is no Oscar. That's my point. Without Bill Goldberg, there is no Jay Cargill. That's my fucking point. Goldberg is the OG of the undefeated streak. He's the OG. He made it popular. He made it relevant. Now, every time somebody gets an undefeated streak, they compare that to Bill Goldberg because he's the OG. Listen, you gotta put some respect on Bill Goldberg's name. People keep saying, oh, he can't wrestle, he's this, he's that, bitch. Without Bill Goldberg, there is no Braun Breaker. Bruh, Braun Breaker has a Goldberg tattoo. Braun Breaker, his idol, is Bill Goldberg. Dog, look at Edge, Roman Reigns, Lashley, Edge, who else? Everybody who does a goddamn spear. Listen, before Bill Goldberg became a wrestler, nobody was doing spears. Name them to me. Nobody was doing spears. It was Bill Goldberg. Please, try it. Try to debate me. Can you name somebody who was doing spears before Bill Goldberg? No. So yes, he changed the business. Whether you like it or not, Goldberg changed this business. Okay? Fuck. It's like, man, you people go to bat for your favorite work rate fake pro wrestlers. Like, I don't get it. It's like, yes, bitch, I love Bret Hart as a kid. But you gotta call it right down the motherfucking middle. Because, okay, let's talk about Bret Hart. Right? Let's talk about Bret motherfucking Hart. He is a prime example of the WWF machine. Because once he jumped to WCW, he became irrelevant. Facts. Bro, I lived through that era. That's my era, not yours. Shit. I saw every match, every show he was on Nitro. Every fucking show. Okay? He's boring. He was boring. He was exposed as a boring guy. And you can make the argument he was boring towards the end of his career in a WWF. I would say shit. His biggest claim to fame was the Montreal Screwjob to me. That was his biggest claim to fame to me. That was the biggest highlight of his career. The fact that Hogan don't think he's that good. So, listen, my whole entire point is, you people overrate Bret Hart. It's like, bro, he wasn't drawing shit during the WWF New Generation era. He was not drawing shit. Listen, he is the reason why Stone Cold Steve Austin became an icon. Why? Because people became tired of the crying crybaby Bret Hart. We wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was fucking organic. We wanted Austin. No more Bret Hart. So, bro, he was damaged goods. For example, every time you leave the WWF bubble, bro, we don't care about you. Maybe your hardcore fans might follow you, but overall, we don't care what you do once you leave our bubble. Ask All Elite Wrestling, right? Bro, there was tons of guys last Wednesday. For example, fucking Daniel Bryan, Pac, fucking Cesaro, ex-guys from the World Wrestling Federation. How come they got 500,000 viewers? That's crazy in the membrane that Daniel Bryan was on a show that got 500,000 viewers. That's embarrassing to me. Because, bro, we don't care about Daniel Bryan outside of that bubble that he left 3 years ago. We don't care. See? That's Bret Hart. We didn't care about him. Because the only guy that knew how to book Bret Hart was Vince McMahon. Even Eric Bischoff said it. There, when it came to Bret Hart, he was only good because of the WWF machine. Only they know how to book him. Hell, you can make the argument that would Shawn Michaels be exposed if he went to WCW? See, that's my question. That's my point. People were being exposed the moment they left the WWF, outside of maybe Nash and Scott Hall. But overall, everybody got exposed because those were products of Vince McMahon's genius in booking. Vince McMahon made you care about Bret Hart. It was not Bret Hart. Bro, when it came to Bret Hart, he was an average at best promo. That's crazy. So the top guy of the company was mid and average at promos, and yet he was the face of the company. Bro, Vince McMahon is a genius that he pulled that off. A guy that he is not a great talker, but Vince McMahon still made you believe that Bret Hart was that great as an overall wrestler, right? Some kids did not care about his weak skills on the microphone. Bro, that's called smoke and mirrors that Vince McMahon did for Bret Hart. So, listen, when Bret Hart went to WCW, this dude was fighting for TV championships. Bro, that is a step down to me. Huge step down. Why is that? Because Bret Hart has a huge ego. He thinks he's better than Hulk Hogan. Shit, facts. But like, bro, you gotta calm down that ego. You ain't Hulk Hogan. You ain't Stone Cold. You ain't fucking Rocky Maivia. Like, calm the fuck down. It's just, Bret Hart is very similar to CM Junk. Whereas, like, bro, you think you're better than what you really are. But, bro, you a product of Vince McMahon's marketing. So, there's tons of aspects of why WCW died. Because they trusted too many wrestlers who had huge egos as their bookers. That made no sense because they were not objective. That's why Stone Cold Steve Austin did not like being in WCW, because there was too many wrestlers on the booking team. That was a huge conflict of interest. Okay, here is the match that I think killed WCW. I think it was Jeff Jarrett versus Hulk Hogan. Because, man, they broke kayfabe and they went off script. That was bad, because at that time, bro, we did not want to see that. We didn't care about backstage drama. We just wanted to see wrestling. So when they went behind the curtain and they kind of exposed the business, that also killed WCW. Like, they were getting so desperate, and the fans knew it. The fans knew, you know what, you guys lost this war, because this product does not feel the same. You look desperate. These are bad storylines. What am I seeing here? Fucking Stone Cold, bruh, he is getting embalmed by the fucking Undertaker. I'm like, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was on a goddamn cross. Like, we were seeing that. We were seeing fucking Triple H fucking drugging Stephanie. That's what we were seeing. Great, over-the-top storylines. But when it came to WCW, they were becoming corny. That's the problem. They were becoming corny, and they did not know how to book ex-talent from the World Wrestling Federation. That was a huge problem. And they were trying to be copycats, right? Fun fact, they made a hardcore title. Facts, that's crazy, right? They made a hardcore title just to compete with the WWF. I'm like, man, that is whack. That is so desperate. It's like, please come up with your own ideas, man. Why would you make your own hardcore title? That means you are trying to put over the WWF for having great ideas. It was like, bro, the hot shot booking, it happened a long time ago. For example, Lex Luger beating Hulk Hogan for the world title, and then he quickly dropped it back to Hulk Hogan. I'm like, okay, what was the point? You see, that was a ratings grab. You see, you can't do that, right? Because people are going to expect hot shot booking every week. So when you don't deliver, you ruin your expectations in the fans' eyes. Like, that was bad shit to have Lex Luger beat Hulk Hogan just for a pop. You see, that's what all elite fake pro wrestling does. They hot shot book all the time. So right there, that was another death note for WCW and their future. It was like they went with quantity over quality. See, that's called quantity. You want a hot shot book just to pop the audience, just to get in the motherfucking news, right? Lex Luger beats Hogan. Then Goldberg beats Hogan. But Goldberg and Hogan, bro, that was a pay-per-view match that they fumbled. It's like, that should have been at Starrcade. Or that should have been at the motherfucking American Bash. Fucking Hogan and Goldberg, your two biggest stars on the roster? Why would you give that away for free on TV? That was a free TV match. I'm like, bro, that makes no sense. Goldberg is your hottest act, and you want him to beat Hogan? Listen, that's like Cody Rhodes beating Roman Reigns on SmackDown for the world title, right? And then he ends his 4-year reign. I'm like, really? Like, no, man, that's crazy. Like, why the fuck would you do that? You gotta market that match and make some money. That match has to be at WrestleMania or fucking pay-per-view. Why would you give away that match for free? So it was just so much bad business that WCW was doing. You see, here's why it's important to book your homegrown talent correctly. Look at Chris Jericho. The moment he left WCW, he became a star for Vince McMahon. That right there, that also killed WCW. The fact that Vince, he's taking your stars that you made mid-carders, he made them into fucking stars. Okay, so why would I watch? Why would I watch Nitro when I'm seeing Chris Jericho beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin for the world title? I'm like, okay, why wasn't Chris Jericho doing that on Nitro, right? That makes you look bad as a booker. That's why I'm trying to warn Tony Khan. Look at Jay Cargill. Look at fucking Ethan Page. Look at Brian Pillman Jr., right? You did not know how to book them right in your company. Now they are stars for your competition. So that makes you look bad, right? That's what I mean. Look at Ricky Starks. I think he will be a star on Raw and SmackDown and on NXT. That's what I mean. That makes you look bad. If we see your ex-talent fucking move on and they become fucking mega stars. Look at Cody Rhodes. So, bro, Cody Rhodes, he was an EVP. He was an EVP. He goes from that to main eventing back-to-back WrestleManias and being a 2-time Royal Rumble winner. And he made All Elite Wrestling. Obviously, that turns off fans. The more we see Cody Rhodes being successful, that turns us off on All Elite Wrestling. Because why didn't Tony Khan see that? But Vince McMahon did, Triple H did, Nick Khan did. Why didn't Tony Khan see Cody Rhodes as a main eventer? So why would I watch Dynamite? You don't know what you are doing. See, he is following the same blueprint as Eric Bischoff. That is a huge conflict of interest. That is huge irony, right? Because both guys do not like each other. But Conman is very similar to Eric Bischoff. That's the weird part. But overall, there was tons of elements that WCW just fumbled. And I knew this company was going to die soon. Back in 01, fucking 2000, they did not care. They got lazy. They were pushing just awful talent that had no business being top guys. And I think that was the huge downfall of that company. Now, when it came to Scott Steiner, Booker T, those guys were great. I'm talking about the new blood that they were trying to push, right? They were trying to push AJ Styles, right? A young baby AJ Styles, right? Fun fact, I think AJ Styles is a former WCW Tag Team Champion. But, bro, he was not ready. At that point in time, he was not ready. But they were trying to push a baby young AJ Styles. You see, when it came to World Championship Wrestling, they were too busy pushing old guys. So once the year 2000 came, they were trying to push young guys, but it was too late. They lost their audience because they lost the war. So that's when they were trying to pivot back to pushing young guys. But man, listen, nobody cared about these young guys because you spent too many years pushing these old guys past their prime. That's why it don't always pay off to push old guys past the prime who are not draws anymore. And also, they took off Rey Mysterio's mask. Man, that was the OG finger poke of doom. Why would you unmask Rey Mysterio, bro? That guy has a weird face. I'm like, nobody wants to see an unmasked Rey Mysterio. That guy has a childlike face. Nobody wants to see an unmasked Rey Mysterio. I don't know why people book that. Like, why would you book that? Like, that's awful booking. And I think that also killed WCW. Because when Rey unmasked, man, he was no longer over. That's facts. He was no longer over because he looked weird. See, when Rey had a mask on, that dude was a badass. But once he took off the goddamn mask, bruh, it did not feel the same. It did not hit the same, man. I was no longer fucking with fucking Rey Mysterio because that was just awful. But just dumb stuff like that was the reason why people stopped watching WCW. Okay, I'm done.